The purpose of the Library of Alexandria was to collect all the world's knowledge. Although we'll never know exactly how successful it was, I'm certain that the modern-day version of it is doing a much better job. Now, you may be thinking that the modern-day version is the internet, but actually that's not the case. Really, the modern-day version is all the bits of content that live on millions of computers all over the world. The internet is merely a pathway to this distributed archive of information. And the internet has problems because these pathways are expensive. And even with the advent of a $35 smartphone, internet access in some countries is 10 times monthly income, which is exactly why 4 billion people do not have access to the internet. Now, you've seen the graphs. The global internet usage rates around the world are going up year after year after year. But still, 4 billion is a huge number. And it's a huge problem, which is not going to be solved anytime soon. So let's dissect the problem and try to figure out what we can solve. So right over here, we have a map that shows global connectivity. And if we view the internet as a key to the library, then we see that the key is either too expensive or just does not exist in much of the world. So if we want to be able to access or offer access to a library of information to everyone, we must bypass conventional pathways. So how do we do this? Well, one way is to think about a pathway that already encompasses and fully blankets the whole world. And that's radio waves. And very specifically, radio waves, broadcast radio waves from satellites. I've been thinking about this problem for about 7 years, ever since I started library school. And in the past 2 years, I've been working on a solution. Oh well. And the solution is outernet. Outernet is a universal information service available to all of humanity, regardless of income, infrastructure, or geography. What we do is we take content from the web and we broadcast it over satellites. We make offline versions of the web available to those who cannot have access to the internet. So this right here is a 60-centimeter DVB satellite dish. It's common in even the most remote places of the world. They're normally used to be able to watch TV, but we repurpose them to be able to receive our datacasts. We use them to collect pieces of websites, and then we have software that reconstructs that data and turns it into digital files, and then which can then be viewed through a web browser, any kind of a web browser. I'd mentioned the word datacast. And so one thing to be very specific about is a datacast is like a television broadcast. It's a one-way transmission. And so the way that this works is, for example, with this screen right here is if you're tuning into either Galaxy 19 or Hotbird 13, which covers 1.1 billion people in the world, is you'll see this. And if you happen to have software with the right compatible hardware, is that your hard drive will begin to be overflowing with web pages that we've copied and pushed down the pipes. This is a solar-powered, do-it-yourself digital library. It's made entirely from off-the-shelf components. This one is somewhere in Detroit right now. It's continuously receiving Wikipedia. Our current service covers all of North America, Europe, Middle East, and North Africa. By the end of the year, we'll have complete global coverage. And we'll be able to deliver 10 gigabytes of content per hour. Now, I want to give you a little bit of context on exactly what that is. Over a period of just 90 minutes, we could deliver the entirety of the TED website. This is my favorite. This is a pillar of knowledge. It's basically a village library, but it's symbolic in that very shortly we'll begin a partnership with the World Bank. And the focus of this partnership will be the pillar of knowledge, but also the focus of it will be to provide educational information to 1 billion people in the poorest countries in the world and in the most fragile states. So I've talked a lot about the data casting, the service, the application layer, but now we get to go to the fun stuff. Right now, I'd mentioned that we're operating over leases from conventional geostationary satellites. Starting next year, we'll be renting a microsatellite. This is a PrizeSat. Well, it's actually an exact replica of PrizeSat. A PrizeSat is a fully operational microsatellite. It's currently in a 600-kilometer orbit, and it talks to receivers on the ground. And this is Lantern. Lantern is a mobile data casting hotspot. So when it's on solar power, it receives signals from a PrizeSat, and then it stores it for later use. When it's on battery power, it serves digital media over Wi-Fi. So one of the benefits to something like this, a mobile receiver, is that in times when terrestrial networks are damaged due to man-made or natural disasters, this will always work. So in about a year, in about 2016 or so, we're hoping to launch 12 of these for our own constellation for a global network for mobile coverage. In many ways, this is very similar to GPS. GPS is also a broadcast data system, but the difference is that we will be able to receive 100 times the information. We'll be able to receive 50 megabytes per day, and that's the equivalent of a dozen ebooks and 1,000 news articles, all without the internet. So I just want to share is that what we're building here is humanity's public library. Imagine if there was a library in every village, a library in every home, and a library in every pocket. Don't imagine if, imagine when. Thank you.